is up, Smudge Wellness? It's your girl, Jazmin Kylene, featuring my homies, my homegirls. I hope you are all well, or as well as you possibly can be, given the circumstances of being in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. If you happen to be watching this around the time of upload, Mercury retrograde is just like looming in the corner. We're in eclipse season. There's a lot happening right now, so like if you are just getting through your day, shout out to you. So Smudge Wellness sort of like centers its content on a different theme every month, and this month's is fluidity, which I am so excited to explore with you guys because fluidity is honestly something that I think has in a lot of ways saved my life. And obviously fluidity is something that is sort of symbolized with the element of water, which is what we're going to talk about today, but like also just in general, I think as someone who needs routine but also needs freedom, I found that like breathing in fluidity into my structures and making sure that my discipline is still malleable is like the most important component to my life. You know, every morning I make sure that I have an hour of mindfulness, but what that mindfulness looks like is directly derivative of what my body is asking for that day, and I feel like that is such a beautiful way that I breathe fluidity into my life. I make sure that I have blocked out time to do specific things where those things look different every single day, because I think there needs to be room for movement. There needs to be space for you to respond to life rather than forcing and controlling it, while still making sure that there are beats that you follow every single day and that you're being responsible with your energetic output and what you're creating for yourself by gifting it, your time and your energy. So I think that like balancing life with discipline and fluidity is so important, and working with the element of water, right? Water gets exactly what water needs to get done. It is formless because it's expansive. It isn't bothered by doing the job of fire or doing the job of air, but rather doing the job of water and doing so in a way that is malleable. And I think water is one of the most important elements, one of the most important naturally occurring elements. I mean, our bodies are made up of like a crazy percentage of water. The moon phases control the tides, which essentially, I mean, water is the base of all life. It's the foundation of all life. So as it being the base and the foundation of life, we really want to make sure that when we are in a space where we are calling in or cultivating more fertility, more things that we want to birth, more fluidity and movement into our life, right? If you are in a place where you want to create new ideas, give birth to a new era of self, or give birth to new projects, if you want to sort of redefine or rebirth who you are, and you want who you are to be something that's different from who you felt stuck and stagnant in being, just if you want any movement, any fluidity, anything that's forward to come into your life, you really want to work with the element of water, which is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about 3 major ways you can incorporate water into your daily routines, into your rituals, honestly just into a way where water is like an intentional part of your practice. So the very first way to incorporate water or to ritualize water is something that is so simple, and it's something that I do every single day, which is making sure that the very first thing you consume in the morning is water, and that it is blessed and intentionally sacred water. So I have a cup of water that I sleep with like right next to my bed every single night, and the first thing that I do in the morning is I bring that water to my altar. If it's a sunny day, my window's open, I'll like let it kind of charge in the sunlight a little bit. If it's an overcast day, then I'll just have it at my altar, and regardless, I'll put in some drops of different Bach flowers into it. So I'm always working with different kinds of Bach flowers. Right now I am working with these. I've got some white chestnut, I've got some minimalist. This is by literally like Bach flowers. These all are flower essences that have to do with like forward movement, because I'm inviting in a lot of change into my life and I want to make sure that I'm not overwhelmed by the change, so they're kind of helping me find rooting and grounding in all of the change that's happening. But I digress, honey. I'll pour some drops of them into the water. I'll Reiki infuse my water just by putting my palms over it, speaking intentions into the water, really connecting with like the element of it, asking for the water to protect me, asking for the water to cleanse me. Having my water at my altar while I'm praying or doing sort of like my morning ritual, my morning meditation, is kind of a way I feel like we energetically align, right? And water is so susceptible to infusement of energy. That is also why if you take showers, I'm sure that you do, if you speak over the water that's cleansing your body and you ask it to reset your auric field, if you ask it to wash away all of the energy that you're carrying that does not belong to you, and you really visualize light being infused in the water that's bathing over your skin, I promise you it will make such a difference. And so the same goes for the water that we're ingesting, right? If you speak to it, if you ask it to nourish your body, to bring you grounding, to bring you peace, to bring you whatever it is that you're calling and inviting into your life. It's such a beautiful way to like very simply ritualize your every single morning. So yeah, speak into your water in the mornings and add to it what feels right. I add flower essence. If you want to like sage your water, if you want to Palo Santo your water, if you want to do something even more intentional, that you totally can. But it really is, there's fluidity in the way that you charge your water, right? So like whatever feels right to you. Like I said, I like to charge it in the sun. If it's nighttime, right? If you want to do this before bed instead, you can charge it in the moonlight. I also charge moon water. So like if there's a full moon, when I put my crystals out, I'll also put a jar of water in a mason jar and have that be charged as well. And I'll use that water in my rituals. So I'll either like cleanse my crystals with it, or if I'm doing any sort of like, I mean, not spell, but you know, spell, I'll incorporate it as well. So yeah, I think praying over your water in the morning, and especially having that be the first thing that enters your body after like a period of many hours of nothing, you know, being ingested, is such a gorgeous way to start the day. The next thing I would invite you to do is a bath ritual. So like I've already sort of like, you know, mentioned, being in the shower and like infusing that water with intention is beautiful, but also just like bathing. There are so many different things that you can put into your baths to make them more intentional, whether it's flowers, magnesium, or Himalayan salts. There's a ton of essential oils, whatever way that you can infuse your bath water with intention. And I also sometimes will get like sort of like these bath kits from Bahati Life, which I will also, I'm sure that there's things on the screen or there's things on the side, but yes, these are all the ways that you can make your baths ritualistic. And just understand that like you can baptize yourself at any given moment if you are intentional about it. So really making sure that like if, especially when it comes to a full moon, that you are finding ease and rest when it comes to your bath rituals, and that when you are submerged in that water, you're really allowing it to cleanse your womb, cleanse your auric field, and really infuse that bath water with as much intention as possible. I also feel like baths are just such a like date with self, right? I love to put rose petals in my baths, especially if I've had roses on display and they're like already beginning to wilt. I'll use those petals to go into my bath, and like it's just such a devotion to self that happens. It's such a form of self-care. And I think, you know, I always look at water as like the divine feminine, whereas like fire is the divine masculine, just as like the moon is a divine feminine, whereas like the sun is a divine masculine. So whenever I'm working with water, I'm really in a state of gifting myself nurture, of being really intentional with like, how can I give myself care? How can I nourish my body, nourish my soul, nourish my spirit right now? And so a bath, a ritualistic bath, is such a beautiful way to do that, because you cannot help but be relaxed in a bath, especially if you have aromatherapy going, especially if you have music going, especially if you're journaling or doing some form of intention setting. You just couldn't be in a more state of, or more centered and grounded state of ease. So just making sure that that bath time is a time for you, and that there's intention going into it. So if you're like, this bath is a bath for me to simply release, it's a bath for me to, you know, cultivate ideas. I have friends who do not execute any ideas until they visit the ocean or until they take a bath, which actually the ocean is the third thing that I was going to say. And this of course is limited to if you have access to an ocean, but if you do, going into the ocean is the most beautiful way to work with water when it comes to ritual. Anytime that I'm feeling overwhelmed by life, anytime that I'm feeling disconnected from divine feminine, anytime I feel like my energy, right? Because you can feel when you're energetic, or just like when your aura is carrying what isn't yours, if you feel like you're starting to pack on and pile on weight that does not belong to you, that salt is going to cleanse you in a way that is so transformative. All you have to do is show up. So like, especially if it happens to be a day where there's like minimal people on the beach, I will go in naked, honey, and just like really talk to the water. Always bring an offering to the ocean, because when you're working with the ocean, you are, I mean, if you aren't versed in the goddesses, then just know you're working with Yemaya, who I actually have right over there in display at my altar next to Mary, Queen, love her. Yemaya is the ocean goddess, and so if you are visiting the water for any form of healing, any form of ritual, you want to make sure that you are bringing an offering. So like last time I actually visited a waterfall. I brought a crystal and I like offered it to the waterfall as a thank you to Yemaya for cleansing me, for taking what does not belong to me. She's the protector, right? The ocean protects. The ocean is the divine mother. I cannot stress it enough. So you want to make sure that when you're visiting the ocean, you're bringing some sort of offering, even if it's a seashell that you feel really beautifully connected to, and you pick it up and you offer it back to the ocean. Doing so and just having that intention of like, thank you, here's something that I can energetically give back to you, is such a gorgeous way to sort of like bring the exchange to a beautiful medium, and to really immerse yourself afterwards in the ocean. Let whatever does not belong to you be cleansed off. If you can get in there naked, I mean, obviously these are things that like in the olden times would have been much easier, but now society has so many structures and rules that, you know, can impede. So of course do things with discernment and within safety and the constraints of being in this, like, you know, human experience. But with that being said, it's so healing. Salt water is so healing and can so easily and swiftly take away what does not belong to you energetically. So get into the ocean, have an intention when it comes to what you are releasing in the ocean. And I have a friend who, like I mentioned before, like does not execute any creative ideas unless they are gifted to her from the ocean. So she'll sit on the like sand, she'll set the intention of like, whatever I am meant to give the world, whatever I'm meant to creatively execute or do, let me know. And she'll get into the ocean, she'll get into the waves. And what's beautiful about working with the ocean is that there is not a lot of speaking that you need to do, there's only listening. So if you just listen and you connect with whatever downloads come through while you're in the ocean, while you're being cleansed of what doesn't belong to you, so that you're re-gifted the clarity of like direct communication, you'll hear exactly what you need to hear, and you'll be gifted the ideas that will ultimately sort of move and drive forward collective consciousness, which sounds like a very large thing, but that means that like if you work at some sort of startup company and you have the idea of like, you know, a project that you want to pitch, you know, that small thing in the grand scheme of things is actually so large in the grand scheme of things. So like really just making sure that you are setting intention in terms of like, how can I be my largest, most fertile self, and how can the ideas that I give birth to be ones that are directly communicated to me from the divine, and how can I let the ocean inform me of them? And yeah, just go into the ocean with that intention. So as a recap, praying over and Reiki infusing your water in the mornings, making sure that you are speaking to the water that comes out of your shower faucet, but also like doing really ritualistic baths, and making sure that you are so intentional with what those baths look like, how many tools that you use to really dress up and romanticize those baths. And if you have the accessibility, visiting the ocean and making sure that you ritualize your commitment to revisiting the ocean, yeah, just as often as possible, and then you always bring an offering. And otherwise, I think it's really just important to breathe in like the element of fluidity, which is what, you know, is represented by water, into your life, into your routine, making sure that if there are areas in your life that are too busy, that are drowned out by structure, by control, that you breathe in more movement, that you loosen up, that you allow yourself to understand that there's nothing more powerful than the ocean. The ocean is so strong, and yet it remains boundless, it remains formless. And so understanding that like you can get everything done, and you can be at your healthiest state of getting everything done if you allow yourself to be fluid and more malleable, rather than so structured and defined that you're too stubborn to see other perspectives, other ways of doing things. So yes. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that in any way, shape, or form invites you to just embark on some new ways to implement new rituals into your life. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Smudge Wellness, for housing my voice. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I'm offering new kinds of offerings and a discount on my color healing teas. You can find all of that on my website or going on my Instagram at Jazmin Kylene. That is all. Bye.